name is Brenda Moore Frazier. I have finally gotten to doing this video for you, sauteed collard greens. Since this isn't an audition tape, all you're gonna get is hands and voice, because you don't need to see me. You know what I look like. Anyway, you said you do eat bacon, so we're gonna have bacon in this recipe. Show you a couple of tips. Always put a cloth, wet cloth, under your cutting boards. I've got my wooden one here. I have another cloth, and then I have my plastic cutting board, which I use for my meats, my proteins, because your cutting boards should not cross-contaminate. In other words, you should not use the same cutting board for your meats that you use for veggies and fruit. As you see, I'm cutting it into strips. If you want your bacon renderings smaller, you can do that, but this is just the size that I'm choosing. I always put everything out on a tray for organization, because cooking is more about organization and time management than what happens on the end. So now I'm right here at my vegetable cutting board, and we have shallots, bell pepper, fresh garlic. I'll start with my shallot. I know you know how to do this, but I'll just show you quickly in case you share with someone. I'll put my garbage on one side. This is just, my old training, trying to keep it clean as I go, which really helps at the end. You don't have as much to clean, pick up, whatever. Once again, that's going to be my garbage on the same tray. I'm going to add just a little bit more shallot. For those of you who make homemade stock, I doubt if it's anyone other than me. You can save these leftover shallot, onion, garlic things, and put them in your stock when you make it for your homemade soup. So I'm going to put all that there. That's garbage. I'm just going to cut through with the size it is. This is going to be called a paysan cut, because I'm not trying to make the sizes uniform. Usually in French cooking or any cooking, you want to make your sizes uniform, but that's not going to be a word for me today. Alright, that's my shallot. Over here, once again, on my tray. Using yellow bell pepper, I've already cut it into long strips, took the head off. Whatever size dice you want, that's what you're going to go for. Measurements, oh my goodness. The collard greens for this recipe, if you can get the young and tender ones, get about 1.5 pounds. If you end up with the older, larger leaves, tougher ones, get about 1 pound. The difference would be with the tender leaves, young tender leaves, you won't have to cook it as long because the leaves are tender. But if you end up with the larger, tougher leaves, don't worry about it. You just saute it, simmer it just a tad longer. Alright, once again, this is a paysan cut. Things are not uniform. When you go to those high-end restaurants, that's what you're paying for, uniform, and the fact that they use a lot of toothpicks back there to put stuff in order. Alright, last thing will be my garlic. This garlic isn't very fresh, but I'm going to cut it up anyway, and I'm going to show you what I do when garlic isn't very fresh. Alright, that's 1 clove. I'm only going to do 1 because I'm going to supplement this with my granulated garlic powder. No, granulated garlic. Not garlic powder, not garlic salt. Granulated garlic made from pure garlic, just dried out, granulated down. So that's it for the basic ingredients, except the collard greens. Let me go get a couple. I really want to show you this part because this is a very important part. Collard greens are wet. We're going to dry them off just a little bit. Doesn't make that much of a big difference. And what you have to do with the collard green is cut that stem out. When we boil our collard greens or simmer them, we can leave the stems in because they'll cook down. I'm going to fold this over, cut this down, and just chop. Now this would be considered julienne chop because we're going to end up with long strips. Once again, paysan, because they're not uniform. If you want it smaller, go across it like that. Once more, cut this stem out. Okay, you're not going to act right, so we'll cut you this way. 1, get down. 2, Cut you out. Ooh, there we go. Over here. Cut it down the middle. Drying it off just a tad, because the water will help it cook down when you get to simmering. Cutting it over. Once again. Parmesan julienne. And these are the cut up collard greens. I will have more. I'll do that later. I'm going to take a break now, and when I come back later to saute everything, we'll do that then. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit more to the sauteed collard greens. I have this wonderful hot banana pepper that came out of my garden today. Some of you may have seen it on my Facebook postings. I'm going to cut it up small pieces, small chop, and just include it in the collard greens, the bell pepper, shallots, and garlic. Cut the pepper into 4 pieces. This little part here I'm going to cut out. The hottest part of any pepper are the membranes and the seeds. So if you want to decrease the heat in any pepper, you take out the seeds and the membrane. If you want the heat to stay there, you leave them. And you know, that'll work that way. So the seeds and the membranes out. I'm just going to put this over to the side. Let me cut a little smaller so when we bite into it, we ain't getting no great big old hit of heat. The smaller you cut things, the quicker they cook, and the more seasoning they can impart. Anyway, I'm cutting this once again in a rough cut. This isn't my technical chef's knife. It's more of a chef fillet knife. I like it because it's flexible, and I can get into things a little bit easier because of the flexibility. Now, this is about as much of the bell pepper that we have, but I'm going to add it. You know, we're going to see what happens. If it turns out to be too much, we'll find out. If it's just right, we'll find that out too. Thanks. That's the hot banana pepper. Okay, we're going to do the rendering of the bacon. This is for 2 things. Of course, to get the fat and stuff off the bacon, which if you want to saute the collard greens, etc. in the rendered fat, you can, or just to render the fat off so you don't have so much fat in your final recipe. You want to let your skillet get hot enough so when you put your small cut pieces of bacon in, they sizzle. Skillet's got to be hot enough for that. Now, once you get it in the skillet, spread it around. Of course, I have a small skillet because I have a small amount. And what's going to happen is when the fat is rendered off, then this, of course, amount is going to shrink tremendously. But once you hear that sizzle, you want to turn your fire down extremely low. As a matter of fact, all the way low if you want to. This will allow the bacon to render slowly and evenly. And evenly means if you want it where it still has a bit of texture, chewy texture to it, you can pull it out then. Or if you want it to go all the way to a crisp, you can do it then. So we're going to turn this down. As you notice, the sizzle is decreasing in sound. This is going to just render all the fat out. I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to walk away. It can take 10 minutes. It can take 20. It depends on what it is, what you want for your final product. But this is a way you can render bacon and not have all that fat popping, which if you don't have a chef's coat on or something else, can pop your skin and leave a little burn. I have more than enough to show that I've done this. And I figured out this way so I don't have to have so many little temporary dark brown moles on my arms and stuff. So once this is totally rendered, we'll come back to it. I'll show you what it is we'll do. Take care. This is about a third, maybe 40% of the way through for the bacon to be totally rendered. And for me, I want it to get a little crispy. Another thing I wanted to mention about this recipe, sauteed collard greens, is that you can also use kale, Swiss chard, beet greens, watercress, spinach, any kind of green leafy vegetable that you like. You can also not use the bacon if it's offensive to you or not part of your dietary lifestyle. Use whatever oil or fat that works for you. So this is like halfway through. Just wanted to let you see what it is. I'll come back when it's ready, and then we'll start sauteing collard greens. Okay, this is about where I want my bacon to be. Almost crispy, but not quite. You can go further, you can do less. Once you get it there, you want to drain it to the best of your ability. So I'm going to put it in this little sieve. Stainless steel bowl that can handle the heat of all of this stuff. Let me do it the other way. Gotta work with these camera angles, you know. So all that's gonna go in there, it's gonna drain. That went down in there, I'll pull out. And then I'm going to get the excess oil off by rolling this up in a paper towel. So once we get all that done, the next thing we'll do is gonna saute everything off, and you'll have the finished dish. Okay, we wanna let our skillet, fresh clean skillet, get hot. This is something that you do when you're trying to sear things or saute. Let your skillet get hot first. Then add your oil, be it butter, be it olive, be it peanut, be it corn. This way, once you put your product in, whether it's a protein or a vegetable, it will not stick to the surface. So although we rendered bacon fat off the bacon, I'm going to continue to be decadent, and Brendan, I'm adding butter. If the pan is hot enough, you'll get a sizzle. There's the sizzle. Be a little hotter. Oh, let me turn my fire back up. We're going to let this turn a little brown. That's going to ensure our caramelization. One of the reasons why you want to let the skillet get hot and then put your oil in is so when you put the product in, it will start locking up that outer surface right away, causing the caramelization, which seals the outer surfaces and locks in the juices. Once again, whether it's a protein or a veggie, I'm going to let this go a little further. Let me talk about the ingredients and how much. I started earlier, but I didn't finish. For small, tender collard green leaves, about 1.5 pounds. If you're going to have the big, tough ones where you get them out the store, about 1 pound. About 1/3 pound of bacon, 1 full shallot, half of a bell pepper, and about 3 or 4 cloves of the garlic. As you know, I'm also adding the hot banana pepper that we found that is coming up and harvested in my garden. So I'm just using the whole one. If you look, you'll see these little brown specks. That's where the milk products in the butter are burning, but burning translates into browning, translates into flavor. So we're going to add our shallots, our bell pepper, our hot banana pepper, all of this in the skillet. Hear that sizzle? That's what you're looking for, a high, hot sizzle. Spread it around so it can cook evenly. Let it sit. One thing that home cooks have a tendency to do, which professional cooks don't have time to do because they're doing other things, it's easy for a home cook to become a stir cook and keep stirring stuff around because they think they're doing something. You don't want to do that because as long as it's moving, you're not going to let it sit there long enough to become caramelized. So I'm just going to let this sit. And when you see the caramelization, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Stir cook does not mean you cooking faster, better, putting in no flavor. It just means you don't know what else to do. You ain't busy enough. You need to have another task so you can go do that task while you're waiting on this. I would take questions now if I was in front of an audience, but I'm not, so I can't. So we're just going to listen to this sizzle. Sizzle, sizzle. Sizzle, sizzle. I'm adding to it. This is the background. Sizzle. Sizzle, sizzle. Now, you always want to season each component of whatever it is you're cooking. So even though this is what would be called my mirepoix, I'm going to add a little granulated garlic, just a little dried thyme. Not going to add any salt for a reason. and fresh ground black pepper. Using black pepper in this instead of white because my greens are dark in color. All right, let me move this around, see if we got some chocolate covered bits in here. I think so. Uh-oh, yeah we do. That's what you're looking for, that brown caramelization. That's what brings out flavor, but it also locks in moisture and the other flavors. One of the things about good cooking is that it should be a variety of textures as well as flavors. You should get flavors from the beginning of your tongue all the way back to the roof of your mouth, and you should have at least 3 to 6 different textures in the whole meal. Not necessarily in one dish, but definitely the whole meal. But as many textures and flavors that you can get in one dish, then you know you're really cooking. So I'm going to push the caramelized mirepoix veggies and hot banana pepper over to the side. Gonna pull it so it's directly over the fire. I'm gonna add a little bit more butter. Some people may think that's a lot. Once again, those who don't eat butter or bacon or any of those fats, do you? Don't be getting upset with me talking about what I shouldn't be doing. I am too grown. I'm gonna do it anyway. I don't need to hear nothing from you, and you just need to do what works for you. So there you go. It's melted. These are my cut up collard greens. Once again, hear that sizzle. We're going to put them all in. I'm going to do the same thing. Spread them out. Let them get a little caramelization. What we can do at this point is season this component. The thyme, dried, granulated garlic, even though it has fresh garlic in it. A couple of more swigs of, or turns, I should say, of fresh ground black pepper. And I use a lot of garlic, fresh and the granulated, because garlic is one of those things, antibiotic, and it cuts cholesterol. So all this fat I'm putting in here is being counterbalanced by the cholesterol cutting qualities of the garlic. Now, smoke that in your pipe. I don't know what else people out there be smoking, but smoke that in your pipe. Okay, I move this around, sauteing it. Collard greens can be a little tough. These were the older ones, so they are. I'm going to let them come back up to a sizzle, and then I'm going to do something a little different. Because I want them to simmer to break down that fiber and make them softer. I'm going to let the fire come up, and I'm going to add a little water. Now, normally what I do when I'm not in front of a camera is take this top, go put it under the faucet, get a little water there, and pour it on it. But since I can't move, I came prepared. So here's my little water. Hear that sizzle? I'll put all that in. Now I'm just going to cover it. I'm going to let it reduce, sizzle, and steam on high where I started it at for a moment, about a minute. And then after that, I'm going to turn it down so that it's more of a simmer. At that point, you've got to make a decision as to how long to simmer. The larger the leaf, the longer it needs to simmer. The smaller, the more tender, the less. So I'm going to turn this down, let it simmer. Gonna move these around, see how much liquid I get. That's pretty good. It'll work because I'm gonna add one more liquid, which will be a flavoring agent, and we're gonna go from there. So we're gonna let this simmer steam with the top on for a good 3 minutes. 3.5, 4 minutes. See you later. Okay, it's just about there. I'm gonna turn this fire back up. Let it get kind of hot under there. Take the top off. All the hot water dripped on the floor, so now I gotta get a paper towel and clean that up when I'm finished. Which is, when you do make messes on the floor in your kitchen while you're cooking, stop right then and there and clean them. That's how you make sure that you don't have a slip and fall issue later on. If you have something sticky or gritty, do the same thing, because for me, that stuff just drives me nuts. Anyway, it's simmered down. My last flavoring ingredient will be Bragg's liquid amino acids. It's got a salty soy taste, and you don't want to use much, but it provides all of those trace minerals and amino acids that your body needs, that they have effectively taken out of food that you buy that's processed, and some of the fresh food because it sits around for so long. This is a way to get that stuff back up in your body, and you know, it'll work for you. So now we got this all down, it's seasoned completely. We're going to add the piece de la resistance, bacon. Man. Well, you know, I gotta act out a little bit. So anyway, this is it, folks. I'm turning off the fire. I'm gonna put the top back on, let it finish steaming. While that does that, I'm gonna show you what else we're having for our dinner, because this is Sunday night dinner. We have chicken sausage, a very nice fresh chicken sausage, which are the two blunt ones, but then these are barese sausage, which are good garlic sausages from Italy, or made in Italy. The other sides are going to be fresh corn on the cob, and what I call freeboard potatoes, which are roasted potatoes that you put in a baking dish. You add a milk and egg custard, you add cheese to it, and you bake it off like it's a cheese and macaroni. So Brenda, I do want to say salute to you. Thanks for making me get this recipe together. Of course, we thought I was going to write it, but I did figure out this would be easier. La Crema, Pinot Gris, we got the year. I don't know if it goes with this meal, but I know I like it, so I'm going to drink it. Take care, Brenda. Hope you enjoy the recipe. Take care.